are gonna go live, and I'm just pressing the button now, bud.
Spot on, man.
Okay, we're live now, mate. Good.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you very much. We're off the mark. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this back. If you are watching this back, and good morning, Daniel. Thank you for jumping on with us this morning,
Mate.
buddy.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so we're on. We're up to week 6 of our level 2 course, which is developing skills for employment. But there's a lot of personal fitness and well-being stuff in there as well, and skills that we're gonna hopefully be able to carry into certain fitness environments again as things open up. You know, maybe again using that do-it.life volunteering website we looked at the other week. You know, there might be stuff within the fitness sort of industry available again soon. You know, as gyms opened again Monday.
Yeah,
a lot of fitness facilities opened again on Monday.
They did, yeah.
So, you know, maybe if that is the sort of thing that interests you and maybe something that you would like to pursue, you know, that is something we can maybe look at now, even if it is just you know, odd little bits in gyms and stuff like that. We used to have staff at DW when I used to work along Wessington Way, and their job was pretty much just to tidy up the gym floor. Not strictly like a cleaning job or anything like that. It was just make sure weights are away, make sure that members are all right, because like I mentioned before, all the PTs in that gym were self-employed, so they had no real obligation to help people that weren't paying them. And unfortunately, you will get professionals like that who do you know what I mean, sort of won't help out very much. Now, me and a lot of the PTs there, truth be told, made a point of always trying to help anybody anytime we could,
sure.
as I think you should, especially when you've got the experience, and it's just as easy as a conversation to sort of pass it on and give a little bit of guidance. But you know what, there's so many roles out there within a gym environment, within a fitness environment, we might be able to look into getting some volunteer work in it, you know, or depending on how things go, we're opening up, you know, we might have staff that aren't ready to come back to work, you know, maybe still needing to shield or not feeling comfortable going back into the workplace just yet. So, you know, there might be openings there as well. So we might actually be looking at some paid positions within the industry opening up, certainly over the next couple of months. You know, I imagine, and like I say, I've been kind of out of the loop with not working in a gym for the last year, but I imagine that, you know, they're probably, as much as they'd like to hit the ground running, you think that they're probably a little bit tentative at the minute and opening up slowly. You know, if we get a big old boom of people saying, right, you know what, I just can't wait to get back to the gym. Do you know what? There are going to be positions there will be jobs within that vocation alone. You know, and that's not to mention everything else that's going on as well. You know, the amount of stuff that people have waited for, potentially over a year now. I know I look like I've been waiting for a haircut for a year, but it's only about 6 months. But do you know what, as they're opening up again, you know, people are going to rush back. We might be able to get volunteer work, even if it is just doing washing, sort of blow drying at the end of a treatment or something like that. You know, I noticed that even some salons and some stylists and stuff, they'll have someone who does the hair wash and the shampoo and the conditioner, and then somebody else that does the styling as well. You know, so it's not just a case of, oh, do you know what, I need this qualification to go and do this job. That might well be the case, but at the same time, can we get a little bit of experience in that area? You know, maybe he's in a different job or in a different role, and of course, like I say, as things are opening up again, it's only going to add, it's only going to bring opportunity, you'd like to think, certainly over the next couple of months anyway. 100%. So bringing it back to the fitness side of things, and back to the health and the well-being side of things, of course, we're looking at skills that we can carry across into pretty any vocation. But what we're looking at really is using materials and tools and equipment and stuff like that to help make the job a little bit easier, you know, and help manage some resources that are just going to, like I say, make the job a little bit more manageable. In a case that's much more familiar to me and what we're doing as part of the course, that would be if I was delivering a fitness circuit, I could potentially use circuit cards, you know, be it with pictures on, descriptions on, what muscles used, what equipment should I be using, health and safety that you need to think about with that bit of kit. If I've got one of those laid down on each station for my circuit, I know that as each person gets to that station, they've got a rough idea what they're doing. And I don't need to, every time the clock resets and people move around, I don't need to then get to 10 people on 10 different stations and sort of guide them through what they're doing. That helps me be a little bit more efficient. And like I say, everybody can get to where they're going and do what they need to do and get the most out of the time and out of the class. And of course, from my point of view, that just helps the whole thing run a lot smoother, you know. Daniel, I'm sure you'll have certain resources that you use that sort of make jobs a little bit easier, speed things up a little bit, be it sort of like a crib sheet or a cheat sheet or something like that, whatever it is, you know, to work from. Whether you're delivering, or I'm sure there'll be stuff that you use when you're doing your editing and all of that side of things as well, that just makes the job easier. Probably that I've never even thought about. Do you know what I mean? When I was doing them fitness videos last year, I probably should have given you a shout and said, what sort of stuff are you doing? Is there anything that might save me a little bit of time?
There's like a saying, I can't remember what it is. It's an expression. It's like you should give like the laziest person the hardest job, because they'll find the easiest way to do it. Right? Like
Bill Gates.
I've heard
yes,
that
it's the Bill Gates one. Yeah, that one is. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. Do you know what? Yeah, you want to find the easiest, the quickest and most efficient way for a job to be done. Just give it to the lazy person. They'll find the easiest way to do it. It really is. It really is. But you know what? When it comes, same again, whatever industry we're in, whatever vocational area we're in, it's going to be a case of there's always going to be stuff that you can use. Sometimes it might be more physical. Again, coming back to working in a salon or a barber sort of place, even if it's just your belt that holds your clippers and your scissors and your water spray or whatever it's going to be. That's more of like a physical resource that we can use. But there's so much that we can have that's going to make certain jobs easier, depending on which vocations are sort of reaching out and calling to you guys. And again, if you have had a little bit of a look on the doit.life website and looking at some volunteering stuff, and you're still not sure what vocational areas sort of interest you, or that you might be sort of interested in pursuing, certainly as things open up again, give me a shout. You know, it'll be interesting to sort of pick your brain, see what sort of stuff does stand out to you, and we might actually get you pointed towards something that's going to really, like I say, really sort of appeal to you. Okay, guys. So, just a little recap from last week. I see Daniel's already got it up for us. We looked at body weight exercises last week. So, the week before we looked at fitness kit that we can use in a circuit, and last week we looked at body weight exercises that we can use in the circuit. And when you guys are putting together your circuits, we're going to make sure that we've got a little mix of both of those. So, some body weight, some with some kit, and some with some equipment as well. We talked about what we should have on our circuit training cards. So again, just recapping, we're talking maybe you're going to want the name of the exercise on there. You know, you're gonna want people to know what the name of the exercise is, so they can say, you know, maybe next time they come around to a different class, when you don't have circuit cards, it might be a metafit class or a high intensity interval training class, and you might say to them, okay, burpees. And of course, if they've never done burpees before, they're waiting on your cue. They're waiting to see them done before. If they've done them during a circuit that they've done previously, and they've seen the name of them, they compare the name with the actual movement, and then they're increasing their own sort of exercise library as well. The way I always thought about it, you know, your own experiences and your own. It's almost like your arsenal, isn't it, to be able to say, okay, I've got burpees under my bag now, I can do these when I'm in by myself. Because that was the way I always used to. I always used to really like using circuits as a chance to let people get comfortable with exercises that they could then benefit from doing themselves, but that they wouldn't necessarily do themselves without having done it with me. And certainly I would never say to them, go away and do this without having shown them. You know, so the more they get used to certain exercises with the names as well, you know, the more, when you're doing a little bit more of a high intensity class and you've only got 10 seconds to rest, and you say, right, guys, burpees next, they can already get set in their mind and they know what's coming. And then hit the ground running and work that next little interval, rather than waiting for me to do 1 or 2 burpees, you know, and then be like, that's what they are. And then they've maybe missed 10 seconds, you know. The speed I do burpees at some days, mate, they've maybe missed all 20 seconds by the time I've done 1 or 2. But do you know what it is? It makes it so much easier pairing up the exercise with the name, and it just makes it so much easier to just sort of pull that out of your bag later on down the line as well. Muscles used is really quite handy as well. Again, it helps not only realize, it helped me plan the circuit as well. You know, if I'm looking at 5 exercise cards and on all of them it says muscles used, abs, I'm like, it's a circuit class, it's not an abs class. I need to make sure that there's some shoulders in there. I need to make sure that there's some legs in there. So they can actually benefit you as well as, or whoever's running the circuit, as much as the like the member or the client that's trying to do the circuit.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's sort of twofold, because it does benefit the member as well, because they can think, okay, this works my shoulders. Next time I'm in doing a shoulder session by myself, I can use this maybe as a little bit of a finisher, or I can use this sort of in my circuit to freshen things up a little bit. I've been doing the same exercises for a long time, so again, having what muscles that we use on there is really important, and could be really helpful to you and the whoever's doing the exercise. Picture of the exercise can go a long way as well. I think I mentioned before, I'm a terrible artist, mate. It was Stickman Central whenever I was doing my diagrams. But even then, do you know what I mean? Just a little Stickman bloke with a dumbbell in each hand, pushing up above his head, makes it so much easier than saying a paragraph saying, pick up the weights, make sure your palms are facing upwards, bring them up to eye level, slowly push to the top, but don't lock out, come back down to eye level again. By the time they've read that, they should be halfway through their circuit, or halfway through that sort of station, or through that set, so a picture they can look and go, okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, especially second time round, third time round, because the picture makes a lot more sense to them, and they can just jump in. And again, it's just keeping things a lot more clear. And again, it can help you out as the person delivering the circuit as well.
Yeah.
A brief, go, bud.
They say a picture speaks 1,000 words, right?
That's it, mate. Yeah, that's it. Like I say, depending on what your swap over time is in between your sets, while people are moving around to the next station, people might not have time to stand there and read a full paragraph. And be like, oh, okay, what's this? What do I need? What's my proper technique? Of course, I've figured out from doing a lot of one-to-one stuff over the years that the quickest way to show somebody something is to do it in front of them and then watch them do it and make any little tweaks. But of course, you don't have the ability to do that when you've got a class of 10, 20 people.
Yeah.
But a picture can almost do that as well as you can.
Yeah.
It's not going to be bang on. But if you've got a rough picture showing that this is how this is done, you can put a couple of bullet points underneath, like don't arch your back, don't lock your elbows, and that's all they need to look at, like a couple of little teaching points, rather than the whole exercise.
It's like on a lot of the machines as well, right? It's like they have that it's like a combination of the two, because it's like a picture of the exercise, but then they also have the muscles used on the picture. So
yeah, definitely. And like I say, I've used resistance machines in circuits before, because it is so handy. They can just jump on and go, okay, I can use this machine. It only moves forwards and backwards. This chest press or this overhead press will only go up and down. I can't really go wrong with it. And that, like you say, there's a little description on the machine as well. And a lot of the gyms that you're going to find, a lot of the kit that you're going to find on the gym floor, if you are in by yourself, will have those pictures on and those little descriptions, just so you can focus your training a little bit more. And again, when it comes to being the one delivering the circuit, it just keeps things a lot more sort of focused, a lot more free flowing. If you've got 10 stations and 10 people, the last thing you want is somebody who spent a full set figuring out what they're doing, and they want to spend the next set doing the exercise, but somebody else is meant to move on to that station. It's like, all right, move on. I've had it before where, do you know what, numbers can sometimes help? Do you know what I mean? Station 1, 2, 3, 4, because it only takes somebody to not realize that those battle ropes over there were meant to be used as well, and they've skipped a station.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the end of the class and they're going, well, I've got one more round to do. And you're like, everyone else is saying, well, I've been all the way around. You're like, oh, well, something's gone wrong here then. Do you know what I mean? Something's gone wrong. It's so easy done.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
The more tired people get as well, the more easy they are to like kind of slip up or like forget something or miss out like a movement or something like that. So
yeah, and you know what? Like you say, buddy, it's as they get tired, they might be fine the first set. It's always baffled me, and I've always taken the mickey a little bit. They'll do 2 sets perfectly fine, and all they've got to do for the third set is the same thing again, but they'll end up missing a station or two. It's just got lack of oxygen, lack of electrolytes. Do you know what I mean? Sugars burning out, carbohydrates burning out, and it's so easy done. So even if people nail it first time round, if you're doing 3 rounds, these circuit cards will help keep people a bit more focused.
I did like kettlebells and strength and conditioning circuits for a while, and like the guy, when I was really tired, he used to ask me maths questions, and his like logic behind it was, he would say, well, when you're tired, it's harder to, like, if you can't do the math right when you're really tired, it's probably a symptom that you're really tired. And I was just saying, like, dude, like, if I was like 100% fine, I wouldn't be able to do the math. So it's like, I said that, like, it's not like, doesn't make a difference whether you ask me when I'm tired or not, because I'm not gonna know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Because I know full well that you'll have experienced this, and I know that Gary will as well if he's in the chat. When you're up late night gaming and you start making stupid mistakes,
Oh
do you know what I
mate,
mean? Like when you
bro,
die and you haven't saved in 2 hours, or do you know what, you accidentally drop something or scrap something that
yeah,
you've been
it's
holding on to for ages. It's just these little mistakes as you get tired.
bro, Rob. When I first got into Overwatch, I was so addicted to Overwatch when I first got into it, and I would play for just an insane amount of time, and I would play deep into the night. And when I was like playing, right, I would start to get tired, and then I'd make mistakes. And if I won, I could just be like, right, I've won the game, I'm gonna go to bed. But when I lost, I was like, nah, I can't. My SR's getting too low. I need to get it back. And then I'm sure Gary will relate to this. And I would
Yeah.
just play endlessly until I got my SR back. But then when I'm tired, I'd start to throw, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm throwing the game," and I'll be just starting to make stupid mistakes. I'm like, "No, I'm throwing." It's like so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. You know what it is as you get tired, be it physically, be it mentally, because obviously a lot of circuit training, you focus quite a lot as well all the way around. Do you know what I mean? I can always tell the people that are just sort of going through the motions and sort of bimbling from station to station. And
Yeah.
those are the ones that I jump on and make sure that they soon up their focus and their effort as well. But yeah, do you know what? It applies to absolutely everything. The more you've done something, you've done a longer day. Again, coming back to sort of volunteering, being in a job position, the longer you've been doing something, I mean, we've all got to the point where we get to the end of the day and you're like, I can't do any more emails, laptop down. Do you know what I mean? It is, you just get to the point where you are going to end up making little mistakes. But
Yeah.
again, having little resources that we've got on the site can actually help us with that, when it comes to even what I do, do you know what I mean? When I'm doing paperwork and stuff like that, I have a list of paperwork that needs doing. I tick it off as I go, so I'm not always trolling back and sort of re-going over stuff over and over and over again.
Good idea, man.
And just little things like that help stop making little mistakes, pretty much. And like I say, there's a lot of um resources and materials and equipment and stuff that we can use even just within the fitness sort of industry alone. And like I say, when it comes to group exercise and stuff like that, these little circuit training cards have always been really handy. I've just seen Wib's getting in the chat. Morning, buddy. Morning, Wib. Nice to have you in, man. Is everybody at Media Savvy very well? Well, I can speak for myself. I'm very well, buddy. How are you? Daniel, how are we doing, man? How are we
I'm good.
doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm okay. I'm
That's it. It's nice,
managing.
nice to see the sun out. Nice to see the sun out after that mad burst of snow we had at the weekend. I don't know what was going on there.
Amazing.
And I don't know if you guys got it up in Sunderland as well. But yeah, we were Easter. The week after Easter, I'm stood out in the garden in a blizzard, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see the sun out, and hopefully, people are being sensible with the easing restrictions this week, and everything's just going to plug on forward in the right direction, slow but at a safe and sort of sustainable pace as well. Wib says, I've done the make your own circuit training course with Mel back when we still had normality. Yeah, I think I actually sat in on one of those, Wib, actually. I think I came through and helped Mel out a little bit. I remember you doing them. So, yeah, it's just the guys that are enrolled on the course this time round that need to worry about the circuit cards and stuff like that. But if you've got any pictures or anything of yours, or Mel's maybe got them, to be honest, I'd maybe try and dig them out off Mel. It'd be interesting to see what you sort of came up with in the past. Towards the end of the session, we're actually going to have a look at some examples that some of the previous learners have done, just what I could get my hands on without chasing Mel up while she's off at the minute. But be interesting to just get a look and see that some of the different ways you can do them in the way that different learners have sort of interpreted it before. But yeah, you only need to worry about doing these if you're enrolled on the course. And again, when it comes to delivering them, we can either do a Zoom one-to-one and you can just explain them to me, talk me through them, or if you'd rather just take pictures and email them over, I'm more than happy with that as well, as long as I can see them. That's cool by me. Okay then, so last couple of bits that I just want to mention again because they're so important and potentially some of the most important stuff on your on your circuit training cards is health and safety considerations that we need to think about, be it checking that the handles on the dumbbells are tight and not loose and slipping and stuff before we start lifting them? Or does a medicine ball have a big gash down the side that you're going to lift it above your head and just get covered in sand? Because I've seen that done before. And then, of course, in the name of making your job easier, how to modify the circuit to make it harder or easier depending on how the learner's doing, or how the whoever's doing the class is doing, the gym member or whatever it is. So if you've got someone that's finding it really, really hard, and really struggling, you might want to just give them a little bit of an easier option to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
And at the same time, if you've got someone that's going through the motions and, you maybe get round your first sort of set or your first circuit, and they maybe come to you during the break and say, do you know what, I found this quite easy, the weight was too light, or do you know what, I feel like I could do something a little bit more challenging, then it's handy to have something on hand where you can say to them, oh, try this. And again, for your own sake, if you've got that written down for each exercise already, you don't have to think about it on the spot. Do you know what I mean? That was the way I always did it. I'd always have a progression and a regression worked out for each exercise. You know what I mean? If it's mountain climbers and we're in that mountain climber position and someone needs it to be easier, can we make it a plank? If they need it to be harder, can we do faster climbers, or can we evolve it into burpees or something like that? And again, rather than needing to think about it on the spot and say, oh, what's similar to this exercise? If you've got it written down on your circuit card, of course, you can say, okay, that's too easy. There's your other exercise there. Do you know what I mean? If you're finding press ups too easy, put some clap press ups in. If you're finding them too hard, drop down to your knees and do them on your knees. So again, that can make your job a lot easier as the person delivering the circuit, and it can make the difference between a gym member needing to collar you over and say, look, this is too easy or this is too hard, and sometimes you're going to get people who it's more of an injury thing and it's more like a mobility thing. I've had people that can't do a front squat with the bar loaded on the front because they can't get low enough, and then the bar tries to pull them forward. So you've got to say, right, for that person, the bar's got to be loaded on the back of the neck and put the weight there instead.
It just destroys my shoulder, that, because I've got a bit of a shoulder injury. Like, I know it's like, it's just even having the bar there just starts to hurt my shoulder. I know that's not a lot of pressure on your shoulder in the exercise, but like I can't have it there. It absolutely kills.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, front squat's a hard one. I think they're really good exercise, but I feel like they're quite hard to do as well. I think you need to have pretty good technique to like.
Mm-hmm. Good mobility as well.
Mobility,
because you've got to be able to get the depth. And at the same time, mate, I've had people over the years that haven't got the shoulder mobility to get back to there to secure the bar on the back.
Yeah, I can.
So then you're putting in maybe a goblet squat with a kettlebell then instead.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they hold it in front of them. It's not the same awkward position as the bar would be, but they've got the weight in sort of nice and close.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can squat that way. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and like I say, it is handy going into the circuit to be able to say, right, this is how I can make this easier, this is how I can make it harder. And then you find as you're doing circuits more often, and you're running your circuit every week, or your boot camp every week, or whatever it is, and you get the same members turning up, you can start to plan with those members in mind. Do you know what I mean? If I know that my Sunday boot camp is going to be sort of predominantly lads my age plus maybe give or take 5 years, it's pointless giving them loads of sort of glute bridges and sort of glute and booty shaping exercises to do, because that's not necessarily what they're there for. At the same time, if I'm doing the class and I'm realizing that because of the timing of it or whatever it is, it's mainly sort of middle-aged women, I can then think to myself, okay, do I need a load of jumping exercises in? Should I be doing sprints? Can I be doing other stuff? So again, you can actually plan the circuit with a little bit more forethought as well after of course the more you've done them. But just for the time being, of course, just think about delivering them to me, and like I say, just make sure that we've got a load of this information on the circuit cards. Okay, guys, so if we can go next slide, what we're going to cover today is of course, planning your circuit training session, where we're going to get a good look at your workbook and just make sure that we're knowing what's what, because a lot of the next week and a lot of the homework is going to be planning your session and actually starting to develop and get these circuit cards knocked up. As long as they're sort of done by the end of the course, no bother at all. But of course, if you do want to get them in and get them done, happy days. And of course, the sooner we can get them done, the sooner we can move through any sort of problems or any issues that you might find when you're getting to them. But hopefully, we'll not have any of that, and we'll be relatively straightforward. So we're going to be looking as well at how to maintain different pieces of fitness equipment, because, like I say, that's that's kind of the underlying biggest priority, isn't it? You know, that we can do these fitness classes and we can exercise safely. Like, there's so much sort of law and legislature around obviously health and safety and stuff like that, and it's kind of even more so in a gym environment when there's so many things that can sort of so many potential hazards. You know, you're talking obviously cleaning equipment being left out, signs, hoovers, mops, the machines themselves. You know, they can they're not only moving parts that they need to be handled with respect, but they need maintaining as well. Like, I've seen people on the cables doing like a chest fly, and one of the cables is just snapped. You know, it could be with a resistance band, and if you've got a resistance band up at eye level and you're pulling it apart and it snaps, you know, you're going to potentially lose an eye. You know, so everything that we use in all the kit, we need to know how to check that it's safe before we start using it, really. You know, health and safety issues that we need to be aware of. And of course, we're just going to be thinking about the skeletal muscles that these exercises actually work as well. Just so you guys have got an idea when it comes to planning certain things, because it's easy to say like a press up is going to work your chest. You know, it's quite straightforward. It's a pushing movement. We can actually see the muscle move when we do that pushing movement. It's going to be chest, front shoulders, front delts, and your triceps a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, that's not quite as straightforward when it comes to some of this functional kit. Like, what's your primary muscle in a kettlebell swing, you know, or a burpee, or a mountain climber, or something like that? You know, it's not always that easy to think, okay, this works, this muscle group. You know, you do a few squats, your legs start to burn. But like I say, when you're doing burpees or stuff and everywhere's kind of hurting, you're thinking about what's the primary muscle that I'm using, what's the main focus of this exercise, why have I used it? And I think I mentioned last week, it was something that I got taught during my PT course. And it's the idea that when you're planning a gym session, or in this case a circuit, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to structure it, as long as you can justify everything. Do you know what I mean? So, like, some people would say never put all your legs exercises back to back. You'd be better off doing legs, upper body, and sort of alternating on and off. Now, you're going to get one benefit from that by the time you're getting round to your second legs exercise, you know, you've just worked your chest, so your legs are fresher. You know, so you might get more reps out. You might be able to manage more strength. Whereas in some circuits, you might actually want to do all 5 of your leg exercises back to back, and then all 5 of your upper body exercises back to back. You know, so you're really getting the burnout and the endurance and that total muscle failure. You know, so again, there's not really a right and a wrong way to do it. It's just as long as you've got an idea why you're setting things up the way you're setting them up, and like I say, it can sort of explain them. There's no problem in that at all. You know, it's amazing, given that, of course, we always talk about the same fitness kit, we're always given the same sort of teaching points. I've never seen 2 lots of circuit cards come back from learners looking the same. You know, so the way that we can interpret them and the way that we actually do them is really interesting to see, to be honest. But you know, like I say, there isn't really a right and a wrong way to do them. So that's the plan for today, anyway, guys. So if we can just spin onto the slide that is planning a circuit training session, we'll start to break some of these down. Just getting caught up with the chat. Yeah, true that, Gary. I just saying that last comment Gary's put in the chat there. Class, man.
Yeah, I know, about Tracer.
It's
so funny. Yeah, it's so true. Loads of people pick Tracer, and it's like the pros, when you see people play Overwatch League, they can play Tracer and like actually like kill it with her. But when it's like just casual players, usually people are not very good with Tracer. She's too squishy, so she gets nailed pretty easy. Especially if you pick someone like Roadhog and you can just like pull her, you can totally one shot her and just end her basically.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like, if you know what you're doing, would that be your main then? Is that
Well,
what they call that? That's my main.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah, people main certain characters, yeah, but like, yeah, definitely. But like, like a tracer play, you'd have to be really good because she's super fast. She's got this ability
Mhm,
where she can like kind of tele out and stuff, and she's super fast, but she's got some of the lowest health in the game. So if she gets caught,
mhm,
she can die
mhm.
pretty easy. But yeah, I would say if I'm doing DPS, I'll probably pick Soldier 76. He's probably the most well rounded.
Yeah. Do you know what? Truth be told, for all the gaming I've played, I've never looked at Overwatch.
So fun, dude.
I've never got around to do it. It looks quite sort of that looks quite sort of fast paced and sort of
Yeah, I love
all action
anything
all the time.
chaotic like that.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
definitely.
Okay, guys. So, when it comes to planning a circuit training session, I know we've got some bits up on the screen there as well, but what is it that we think that we need to really think about when it comes to planning a circuit? So of course we need to think about the space available, and I don't think that gets as much recognition as it needs, to be honest, because like I say, I've had times where I've had people come in for circuits. It's been small groups, almost like small group PT. So I'm trying to run a circuit in a gym that doesn't have a studio at the same time that the gym is open to members. So of course I need to be a little bit more considerate with the kit that I'm using. I need to be more considerate with the space that I'm using. I can't have people doing sprints up and down the length of the gym, getting in the way of other people who are paying for one-on-one PT, who maybe can't do whatever they need to do because I've got people all over the gym doing this, that, and the other. We need to think about, like I say, the space that you've got. Is it going to be in a community center? Get an idea in your mind what your circuit looks like, where it's going to be, and when we can actually carry out your circuit sort of realistically. Like I say, when I used to do the sessions with Mel over at Bede College, that was literally just like a college hall, like a sports hall. And we used to bring our own kit. We'd roll the kit in every week, obviously back in the car afterwards when we were done. Me suspension loved that. Suspension loved that with the dumbbells and the and the medicine balls and the kettlebells there. We're going over speed bumps, creating
Oh man,
sparks
just
out the
like
back end. Yeah,
cargoes
I
like
was.
that.
Yeah. Well, it was a coupe as well, so it was already quite low.
Oh
That was
man.
when I had the black coupe. But yeah. May she rest in peace. Um, yeah, so yeah, we're thinking about, of course, the equipment that we've got available as well. Now, of course, for these sort of theoretical circuits that we're doing and sort of planning, we've got all of the kit that we've talked about, and we're going to have another look through that in a second. Just to have a look at some of the more sort of available kit. I have found over the years that some stuff lends itself better to circuit training, be it be it lighter dumbbells, be it medicine ball slam or medicine balls or kettlebells or whatever it's going to be, as opposed to saying like, right, I need a barbell with sort of like 60k on either end. That's not really suitable for everybody in the
No,
class.
yeah.
It's quite heavy. It's maybe not ideal for working for time for,
True.
maybe the gym's only got one or two barbells and you don't want to sort of hog one for the next 45 minutes to an hour. It's bad enough waiting for somebody the next 10-15 minutes when you're like, how many sets have you got left? And they say like 9. They say 9 because they're doing German volume training or something.
Yeah.
You're like, how many? You got 9 sets left? I'll just pick something else. I'll do squats a different way today. No
Nothing
thanks.
worse, mate. Like I've literally done it before, where because I'm kind of like, I hate it when people say to me like, "Oh, how many sets you got left?" I mean, I know it's normal like gym etiquette, but like when people are like, "How many sets you got left?" and then you say how many, and they're like, "Oh, no bother," and they'll sit and wait for you to finish. So you're like, "Oh, I've got 4 sets left,
Horrible.
or 3 sets," and then they sit behind you and wait until you finish, and I just feel so like my rest time is probably like 10 seconds per set, like, you know what I mean? Because I'm just so like uncomfortable. But like, so I don't want to ever do that to people. But then at the same time, there's nothing worse about, right, I'm waiting for the rack, I want to, what I want to do, I have to use the rack. So then I'll do something else that I didn't really, an exercise that I didn't really want to do, but I did because just to make the time up. And then so say I go over to the pull-up bar, and then from the time I go over to the pull-up bar and come back, someone else is using the rack, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
You know what I
torture,
mean?
especially when you go up to someone and say, how many sets have you got left, and say, well, I've got 2 left, but he's on next and he's on after him. You're like, oh
Yeah,
man,
it's like there's nothing you
man.
can do, man. It's like okay, fine.
So yeah, we're not that is something that we would need to consider, and when it comes to certain environments, again, weights are expensive, plates are expensive. Again, if you were realistically running your own sessions, you might not necessarily have a barbell for everybody. With, if you've got 10 people in and you want to give everybody the same weight on the bar, you need what's that? That's 25 kilogram plates, isn't it? Which is 100 kilograms in itself when you think about it that way. So sometimes you're not always going to have all that kit available. Now, like I say, for you guys, we're going to be able to say, look, we can put cones in there, skipping ropes, battle ropes, kettlebells, whatever it's going to be, and we're going to get some body weight in there as well. I just seen Wib says, why can't I see other people's chat? I'm not sure actually.
What did you say? You can't see people's chat?
Can't see other people's chat. Yeah, have you try coming out of the chat and coming back in?
Yeah,
That's what I do
maybe
sometimes.
refresh it, Wib. Maybe refresh your screen or click off the video and then go back on it and maybe see if it popped up for you there, bud.
That's what I'll do sometimes. I'll come out and go back in. Um, right. Okay. So yeah, we've got to think about what equipment we've got available with us when we're planning, and then again, we've got to think about the number of members that we're actually expecting to turn up. It would be a little bit daft putting out 10 stations when the week before, or you could potentially have 15 people turn up. I've had that at the last minute, and I realised pretty sharpish that it's easier to just have more stations than you're expecting people. Um, I did mess about. Sorry, I did mess about with doing like a paired circuit. So every station, there was 10 stations, but each station was like a couples exercise. So like one will do a sit up with the ball, pass it to the other person who'll do a sit up with the ball, and sort of backwards and forwards like that. Now that can work really well as a motivator, and of course half the amount of planning that you've got to do, really, and the
Yeah.
amount of setup that you've got to do, because you've got half the amount of stations. But you've got to think about as well with the members, if they've come with somebody else, they're probably going to be really happy to jump on and train on at each station with somebody else. If somebody's turned up and thinking, right, I'm just going to beast myself around this circuit for the next 45 minutes, and they're getting paired up with somebody that they've never really spoken to or had much interaction with. Maybe somebody's new to the class and they turn up and they're like, right, you go with that person, and it can be a little bit daunting for some people. So again, in reality, the more you're delivering these sessions and these circuits, the more you realize who's turning up, and of course the way that people are best sort of motivated, and the way that they work best. But definitely the number of people that you're expecting is always something that you've got to think about. Of course, what you can do if you end up with extra stations or extra people, is of course just have extra circuit cards done. What I used to do for every week, I would have circuit cards. So was building up sort of like a backlog of or like a library of circuit cards for different exercises. So by the time week 3, 4, 5 came round, if some extra people turned up, I could just go to my little file and pull out, right, I'm going to have a couple of extra bodyweight exercises, and I've got the cards there ready to go. Okay, so I've got 12 stations, there's 15 people turned up, I need another 3 burpees, mountain climbers, bodyweight squats, right, we're good to go. Do you know what I mean? And having them sort of again just sort of in your back pocket, ready to pull out when you need them. So handy. It really is.
Because I used to do Insanity quite a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I always thought like how and just doing other like YouTube kind of hit like things and stuff. I just think like how do they like, because it's to the T the time, because it's like interval training, right? So it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
all timed X amount of time. So obviously what I would imagine is you have like, as you were saying, you've got your rough plan, but is there ever times when you think, wow, they got through that exercise quicker than I thought, or something like that, or that didn't take as long as I expected? So then, as you're saying, do you usually have like a few like backup things where you think like, oh, we're running short like 2 minutes, let's just do this instead? And then do you have like a couple of exercises which you can just throw in it to make up the time if
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a really good point. And the way that I used to plan my sessions was I used to plan my classes using an app on my phone where you pretty much program your own timer.
Brilliant.
So I obviously could just press play, set it away, and the sets were taken care of. The rest between sets was taken care of. There was a different beep at the end of the full round, and they knew that they were going to get like a minute rest, 90 seconds rest, and then of course, like even just some of them had even like a 10-second beep to let you know that there was either 10 seconds left of work and you could push a lot harder, or that there was 10 seconds of your rest left, and it was time to get ready to start going again. So I always knew before I pressed play that that timer was going to last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But, that wasn't always going to be the case. And like you say, I used to have an idea of sort of like what I would call finishers or something like that, like proper burnout exercises. And again, we used to do them quite a lot at Bede College. So, the way I used to do them, if we'd finish with a few minutes to spare, and again, you can go by the energy level of people at the end of the class as well. Are they looking haggard? Are they looking like, oh, come on, give us something else to do? Sometimes you get to the end of your circuit, you say, okay, guys, like, well done, we'll call it there. We'll start your cool down. You've worked hard. And other times you'd say, oh, do you know what? I think you've got a little bit more in you. Sometimes I'd just say, look, do you know what? My next PT session isn't in for half an hour. Let's just extend this a little bit and we'll get a little bit more out of this class.
Yeah.
And what I used to get people to do was they'd line up sort of down the length of the hall.
Yeah.
So they would be sort of shoulder to shoulder. They would come down into a squat. The person closest to the start point would run past everybody to the far end of the gym, touch the wall, and come and join on the other end of the train. And then the next person would go and join on, and then the next person would go. So they were working their way slowly up the gym, and because they're down in a squat hold the whole time, like your legs are burning, man. Your legs are burning, and then when it's your time to run, and everybody's down waiting for you, and you're like, everyone's going, "Come on, hurry up, we need to keep moving." When your legs are already like jelly, it motivates so well, stuff like that. We used to do, albeit sort of like a walk and lunge race. Split the class into two teams and say, right, you're going to one person at a time, like a relay, lunge to the end of the gym, come back, tag your next person in, first team to be done, wins. Whoever comes last has to do a forfeit of 10 burpees or 30 seconds of burpees or something like that.
There was one in Insanity, which reminded me, which used to kill me, which was like, you used to sprint on the spot as fast as you can. And then you would do a jump lunge, and then you would jump into switching legs and lunge, and you would jump lunge, jump lunge, jump lunge, sprint on the spot, sprint on the spot, sprint on the spot, jump lunge, and that would kill me.
They'll do you like, yeah. You do a couple of jumping lunges, and your legs just seize up, don't they, and go like concrete. It really is. It's just pure lactic acid, and they just shut down.
Yeah.
For all you might have the strength for doing lunges and the endurance for doing lunges. Like we've mentioned before, that plyometric explosive movement where you're jumping off on the floor is just like a different type of fitness altogether. It's almost its own component, isn't it? Because it's almost like just pure power, as opposed to the endurance or the strength side of things.
My least favorite stuff to do.
Yeah. Oh, it is brutal. Like Gary says, finish him 100 squat pulses. Yeah, that'll do you. Like squat pulses are absolutely brutal. I think I've mentioned a couple of times now, and proper throwing Mel under the bus about the time she basted as a body pump when I turned up and had to do like a full squat track. Like I was used to doing 3 lots of 20 on me squats, maybe. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like a 4.5 minute track that was pulse squats, full squats, squat holds, wall sit. And I was just like, this isn't my bag at all. This isn't my bag. I sat outside Bede College for about 15 minutes before I even started driving home. It just like trying to get the clutch leg going and stuff like that. It's absolutely brutal. It's one of them where you see traffic like coming up above, and you know that you're gonna have to change down the gears and brake, and they use both your legs, and you're just cursing people, man, cursing people.
Dude, I don't know how Haytham drove home after that. You know how they did the 4 miles, 48 hours thing?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how he managed to get home after that. He said he got all his legs just seized up.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. He was like, he had some knees on him, bless him, didn't he?
Oh, man, yeah.
And of course, that's something that we've sort of mentioned before as well, just when we're talking about running, and it's probably worth mentioning as we're talking about getting out and running a little bit more and enjoying the outdoors a bit more. of course, just be aware of the impact that it has on your body. The guys in the office and the guys up in Sunderland did absolutely amazing job, and it was for a good cause. And what's a couple of swollen knees for a good cause, you know. But at the end of the day, it's just something to be a little bit wary of, you know. If you're not necessarily needing to get better at running, just be aware of the impact that you could be putting on your knees and your ankles and stuff every time. But of course, like we say, absolutely Herculean effort from the guys up at Media Savvy up in the office as well. So yeah, top effort, guys. Yeah, 100%. Okay, guys. So before we dive in and have a look at what the first exercise is going to be in your workbook this week, I've just seen Wib says you can see Gary in the chat now. Spot on. I'm glad that's worked. Good. Yeah, it works for me. Coming out and coming back in. Yeah, normally does.
Just refreshing it now.
Yeah, so if you ever are putting anything in the chat now and it does seem like I'm missing it or ignoring it, it's probably just because it hasn't refreshed.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah. Okay, guys. So before we move on, so we're thinking about exercises that are going to work the entire body as well. You know, for these circuits, a lot of them are full body. You know, it's not like people are going to be turning up just to train their legs or just their upper body. Some classes are going to be designed like that. Circuits kind of typically aren't. Circuits are normally quite full body, quite sort of functional sort of movements. You know, whereas you might turn up for a specific class that is like legs, bums and tums, that is just going to be lower body and abs, or, you know, it might just be an upper body class where you work on your arms and your shoulders and stuff like that. So circuits tend to be full body, so that is what we're gonna operate under, you know. So, you know, 10 stations, for example, could be 2 upper body exercises, 2 lower body exercises, 2 core exercises, and then maybe 4 cardio exercises, you know. And again, the way that they're structured could entirely be up to you. You could do like 2 upper body, 2 lower body, 2 core, and then your 4 cardio in a row. As brutal as 4 cardio exercises in a row would be, you know. Again, if you can plan that in as part of the effect that you're going for with the circuit, then by all means, there's not a problem with that at all. I would be more tempted to do maybe 2 upper body cardio, 2 lower body cardio, 2 core cardio, and then maybe 2 cardio at the end, or something like that, you know. So they're not necessarily doing too much of one thing all in one go, and just keep it like a nice balance. So for those exercises, those could be 2 upper body, shoulder press and upright row. You know, so shoulder press, upright row with a kettlebell or a dumbbell or whatever. Lower body might be squats and lunges. Your core exercises might be crunches and a back extension, you know, which a lot of people don't think of as a core exercise because it's not abs. But of course, your core is like your full trunk, you know, your lower back, your obliques, your abs, your pelvic floor, your diaphragm. It's all it's all part of your core. So back extension and crunches could be. And then for your 4 cardio exercises, we could have shuttle runs, burpees, jumping jacks, and like sort of side-to-side skaters or lateral skaters. So that's just a little example there of the way that we could structure things, or some of the exercises that we could use, which is going to be the plan for. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm on the right page there.
No worries, man.
Yeah, no, just making sure that we are sort of structured in what it is that we're doing. You know, it's all well and good saying, right, I'm going to have 3 upper body, 3 lower body, 3 core, 3 cardio, 12 stations, but we need to have a little bit of a think about what those exercises are going to be, and that's what we're going to start planning in the workbook as well. So, Daniel, if you don't mind, could you just load up the workbook for us? Yes. 2 seconds, please, buddy. And this is the tools and equipment for practical activities.
Got it, man.
Cool. So we're going to be looking at 1.3 first. Is the first one that we're going to look at.
Got it.
Yeah. So using appropriate tools and equipment to produce an agreed artifact or complete an agreed task, and that's going to be our circuit training card. Yeah. So use the box below to plan your circuit training session. Including up to 10 workout station. Yeah. So you must use a piece of equipment for at least 2 stations and have a minimum of 6 stations. Yeah. So at least 2 bits of kit, 2 different bits of kit if we can, and a minimum of 6 stations is what we're going for. Up to 10. Yeah. If you want to do all 10, go for it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to write just going to put in the name of the exercise that we're going to do. Where are we at? Oh, 1.3.
1.3, mate. Yeah, so we've got
Yeah.
the circuit and the activity. And then,
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Cool. So yeah, we're just going to put in any notes that we're going to put in there, you know, the name of the exercise, a little description, maybe the kit that we're going to need to do that exercise as well. And like I say, that can actually help you plan your circuit. Yeah. So this is going to be planning for your own circuit. Whereas some of the other exercises that we're going to be doing today are just to do with kit in general. Yeah. Cool. So that will be exercise 1.3. And that's going to be over the course of the next week. We're going to get that done. So planning your circuit training session and identifying equipment that you intend to use, name and the description of the exercise there as well. So that should be pretty straightforward. Fingers crossed. And then that'll do us for looking at the workbook just for now, buddy. If you don't mind, just spinning back over to the PowerPoint. Cheers, man. So let's get a look at some of this kit. So I've talked about the way we can use kit. Like I say, a couple of weeks ago. What we didn't really get into too much was some of the health and safety side of things and what we need to think about. Again, in not only maintaining kit, but making sure that it's safe before we pick it up and start using it, you know. So our first one that we've got there is resistance bands. And I know I've talked about them quite a lot. I know Gary's actually got hold of some.
They're quality, yeah.
Gary, I'm not sure whether you have been doing any of this, guys, but it might not hurt to start, you know, just anytime you start using them, you know, checking for any small rips in your bands or broken handles that can either nip into your skin or something that's going to lead to sort of like a total failure halfway through the exercise. Again, resistance bands, it's a big elastic band at the end of the day, depending what direction you've got to point, and when it goes snap, it can cause a lot of like a lot of damage. Like I say, potentially take an eye out or just really sting. You know, I have had it happen on like the back of my hand and stuff like that, and it's almost like you know when someone like rolls up a tea towel and gives you the old flick with it. That's what it feels like when a resistance band goes. It feels like somebody's nailed one of them shots on you like and got like a perfect connection with one of them. That's what it feels like when a resistance band goes and hits hold of you.
I bet.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to buy one, I think.
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? You can get like you can get little sort of like packs of them for like maybe it's up to a tenner. I think the ones that I've got actually, I've got a green one. My blue one's the one that snapped the other week. That one died. And there's a purple one as well. And they're actually different levels of resistance. So wow. The green one moves a lot easier. It's a lot easier to pull. So you can maybe work some smaller muscles with that.
Right, yeah.
Whereas the blue one was the next level up and was the one that I've used the most. You know, it was sort of it was the Goldilocks band. It was right between sort of too much and not enough for a lot of stuff. So that one died, but that one was my favorite. And then I've got the purple one, sort of like the strongest one out of this set. And I think that alone cost us about £9 for the three of them, I think. Some of them you'll get with rather than being the loops, they'll be just like ones where you can attach handles and attachments at either end, you know. Some of them are designed to go under the door with a stopper on the other side. So you've got like an anchor point for bicep curls or pulls, all of that sort of thing. And again, just be double checking stuff before you really get set up with them. I've seen that done where something like the anchor's been under the door, so someone can do like a bicep curl, but the door wasn't shut properly. So as soon as they pulled, the door swung open, like came off the latch, swung open, and then the bit on the end that was meant to be an anchor just flew towards them at quite a rate as well. So again, just make sure that everything's sort of set up and secured before we start using our resistance bands.
It's like the classic pull-up bar always falls down.
Yeah.
Like that's so many times seen that. That's
it. I've seen more clips of those going wrong than going right.
Yeah.
By like significantly, you know. Every time like I'm watching, you see like a video pop up on the internet or on social media or something. As soon as it's somebody doing pull-ups on a bar, I'm thinking my money's on this bar's gonna fall. Yeah, definitely.
Have you seen those guys? Like it's like it's like calisthenics, but like they're like literally like just absolutely shredded, and all they do is like variations of pull-ups and stuff like that. Like in
Hmm.
like they're like I remember there was this one. He was like a black guy in his 50s, and he was just insane. He was so shredded, and he was just doing dips. He was doing pull-ups, like clapping pull-ups and stuff, and he was doing like pull-ups with
Wow.
one hand.
Wow.
And like I think like I don't know, man. Like those you must have seen quite some of those people though. They can just do like insane core variations and like
Mhm,
things
mhm.
like that. It's
Seen people
all
do like a controlled pull up and like moving their feet like they're walking up steps to pull themselves up,
yeah.
and then like
That's it.
like
Yeah,
walking back down the
same
steps like that
stuff.
sort of thing.
It's all
I've seen that.
it's
I've
almost
seen
like
that done.
gymnastics, right? That must be like the same kind of
Yeah,
strength.
yeah, very very similar sort of thing. Like when you see obviously like we living in the age where it's sort of like reality TV and Britain's Got Talent and stuff like that, and we see groups on there, and like even when you'll see like if you've ever seen an act where it's like two, maybe three guys, and all they're doing is slowly moving from one hold into another and like supporting each other, and there's one on the bottom that's taking the weight of the top three, and mate, it's just a totally different level of strength. It really is. Like if you've ever seen people do what we called flagging, where you'll pretty much get themselves on a vertical
Oh, I've seen
pole,
it. Yeah, yeah.
and they'll just stick themselves out like a flag caught in the wind. And I'm like, that how? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks like some black magic voodoo going on when really it is just absolutely insane core strength, you know.
It's unreal, man.
Um, so yeah, some of the stuff that we can do with sort of body weight or calisthenics is absolutely amazing, you know. And that just takes years and years of dedication. It's testament really to the fact that you only really get better at what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They haven't learned how to do that by they haven't got the core strength to do that by doing millions of sit-ups.
Yeah.
They've got the core strength to do that from trying over and over again, you know. Some of it will transfer into other stuff. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're only really getting better at the thing that it is that you're doing, which is why body weight's such a good benchmark to aim for. Because if you can move really well against your own body weight through a lot of different movements, you're setting yourself really well up for sort of functional, good movement patterns, sort of day to day in everyday life as well. You know, body weight is the first. It's like the starting point for a lot of stuff, isn't it? You know,
Hmm.
if you can't do a body weight press up, it's pointless putting a load of weight on your back.
Yeah.
You know, once you get to the point where you can do body weight, that is when you can look to maybe make things a little bit harder or to look at those progressions.
Yeah, I've got go on, sorry, Rob.
You going, bud?
I was just gonna say
Oh,
I've got
yeah,
friends
go on.
who they've got like when they do pull-ups they've got like a belt and they have like they put like weights on the belt and they do like weighted pull-ups and stuff. I can't even imagine doing that. Must be like
Yeah,
that's some
yeah.
back strength to
It's
do that.
intense, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Like I've seen that done rather than hanging the weight, they've gripped it between their feet. Yeah, so
Right,
they're gripping the plate between their legs at the top of the pull-up. They'll do a hamstring curl and bring the plate up to their bum. Like plate up to the bum, legs back to straight, and then back down from the pull-up. And you're just like who is this? Who's this guy? Do you know what I mean? Where's this person come from?
Crazy.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like yeah, just walked in off the street. But yeah, like some of the stuff you can do is absolutely amazing. But then weight belts are really handy for sort of suspending weight for especially stuff like that. To be honest,
Yeah.
good for back extensions as well. You know, if you're gonna have like you can actually have like the belt loaded around your neck instead, or sort of like more sitting back on your traps or your shoulders where the weight would be. And then of course, as you're bending forward with a straight back, it's them lower back muscles that are working against the resistance there to pull you back up. So you're almost doing like a lower back extension.
That's
But
yeah.
just for like a little bit of weight to help out. Again, it's just using gravity. It's just figuring out where the resistance is.
Rob, just really quick, you know what I want to ask? You know when people do bench press, but they've got chains on the barbell, is that like just for vanity, or does that actually have some kind of like utility?
That has a utility to it, and it's quite interesting when you think about it. So you think when you're doing a regular bench press, or just for example, or any exercise, but we'll use a bench press for an example. When you use a bench press and you've got the bar on your chest, the point where your muscle works the hardest is when you try and reverse that movement as you start to push upwards and you're trying to generate upwards momentum. That is when the muscle works hardest. So you're getting the most strain on the muscle fibers that control that first part of the range. If that makes sense, those muscle fibers that start to move you in the right direction. And beyond that, you can coast quite a lot. So you've got the momentum, then the weight is already moving. So you might work hardest through the bottom of the range and then coast all the way to the top.
Yeah.
So the muscle fibers that should be working through the top half of that range aren't working as hard as they might be.
Right.
Now, if you think that as you getting higher off the ground, the bar is actually picking up more chain links, you know, because of course the higher the bar is, the more of the chain is on the bar itself. You actually get a similar effect to what you get with a resistance band, where rather than pushing hardest at the bottom, you need to maintain that effort all the way through, and you're potentially working harder at the top of the rep than you were at the bottom, just because you've picked up a little bit of extra weight along the way, you know, which is exactly the same as a resistance band, you know. If I had these around my legs and I was stepping side to side, there's less resistance when my feet are that far apart than needing to come all the way to get my feet there.
Yeah.
You know, you can even see the difference there just in the tension on the bar. And chains work exactly the same way, you know, so it is just a case of once you pass that initial sort of initiation of the movement where, like I say, a lot of those muscle fibers work the hardest, and then you're in danger of just kind of coasting past there and letting momentum do the work. With resistance bands and chains, you can't really do that, because, like I say, you're picking up the extra weight as you go. And that's the majority of the times I've seen like chains done, because at first it just looks like proper ego lifting, doesn't it?
It does. Like, it looks like, because it looks cool or whatever. So I thought, like,
it's like, you want extra weight on the bar, just put extra weight on the bar. But it's not always that straightforward, you know. The extra weight on the bar, you might not actually be able to get the initial lift, you know, whereas with the initial weight on the bar, you can get that push, and then when you're actually in a stronger phase of the movement, you can manage that extra weight as well, and the bar's actually getting heavier. Which in turn as well needs more control on the way back down as well. So you're getting a little bit more tension through the lowering phase as well as the as the pushing phase as well. So yeah, hopefully that totally random description makes sense, mate.
I suppose it's not too off topic, because obviously we're doing resistance bands, so.
Yeah, definitely. Links in quite nicely. And do you know what, mate? That is the main benefit I've actually found from resistance band through training through lockdown. You know, I'm actually doing a lot of stuff. I have been doing a lot of stuff with resistance band that I'd have chosen to do with weights once upon a time. You know, just to make sure, again, bicep curls, when I'm coming to the top of a bicep curl, I don't just want to be coasting on the momentum that's been generated from the bottom of the from the bottom of the movement. I want to be squeezing the bicep all the way to the top of the range, tension on even while I'm just holding at the top, and then tension pulling me down on the way back down as well, adding to that gravity effect as well. You know, so yeah, they can be really helpful. I would recommend trying it with resistance bands just to get a feeling for that sort of or just to get a feel for that sensation. You know, because it is totally different. Getting halfway through a rep and finding that it's harder to finish the rep than it was to start the rep, because it's not normally the case when you think about it, really.
Of course, yeah.
So storage and making sure that stuff put safely away is something that we need to think about when it comes to all kit, not just for gym member safety and for your own safety, but also for the longevity of the kit as well. You know, resistance bands will actually perish a lot faster if they're just left in the sun all day. You know, so can we pop them in a storage box? Can we put them away? Can we put them on a shelf? You know, rather than just leaving them in the sun for the for the light to actually start to eat at the rubber and like I say, just making them perish. And at the same time, especially these loopy ones, they're a bit of a trip hazard. So we want them out of the way. We want them off the floor, and just making sure that they're only there when we're using them, really. Okay, that'll about do us for resistance bands. Then let's spin on to steps. So I'm thinking more of your sort of typical sort of gym step, an exercise step or a fitness step that you might have seen in like a step-a-size or a step aerobics sort of class. Maybe you've seen them on the gym floor. That one on the picture there must be a really common make, because we used to have exactly those at DW while I was at DW. And they're really sort of versatile. So you can see that they're actually propped up a little bit. The purple sort of cushion underneath can come off. We can see that the step in the background's got two of those cushions on, you know, to make it a little bit higher. So they're really adjustable, you know, and as long as we're making sure that the steps are set up properly, or the feet are set up properly, like I say, we can adjust the height of whatever it is that we're doing. You know, if you're doing box jumps and you're not so confident, keep it nice and low. If you're then doing weighted step ups, you can raise the height a little bit more, so you're working your glutes and your quads through a bigger range. You know, there's a lot of different stuff we can do. So with these, we want to always be checking for, of course, any cracks in the plastic, stuff that gives us any inclination that the step's going to give way, because normally, of course, these feet are either end of the step. You're probably going to be stood in the middle. Sort of the last thing you want to do is for the step to go inwards and you sort of fall through it, you know. Touch wood, I've never seen it done, but it is something that we need to be aware of. The rubber surface on the top as well, that's designed to give you grip, will only give you a grip if it's attached properly, you know. So make sure it's not loose, it's not flopping around, and there's nothing that's actually going to make landing on it or stepping on it any harder. Like I say, making sure that feet are even and fitted correctly. You know, I have seen people try and do box jumps where they've got two under one side and one under the other, and they're trying to figure out why it's wonky. Some of them aren't so straightforward in the way that the steps work. It's a little bit hard to explain, but some of them are like, if you have the step facing that way, it's higher. If you face them that way, you can sit them on a lower bit. Like I say, it's a little bit harder to explain, but you've maybe come across those in the gym before, where it's sort of like there's like one style of step, and however you have them configured, it'll actually change the height. And of course, you've got to make sure that you've got them matched up. Check the surface area that the step is placed on. You know, it's all well and good the step being secure, the feet being secure. If whatever those are placed on isn't secure, you know, you're going to potentially fall off and get issues there as well. You know, making sure that, again, dumbbells and other kits out the way for when you're coming off the step. You know, you might not necessarily be looking where you're going if you're stepping backwards. You know, like I say, if you're doing a step onto the step and then coming back off, you don't want dumbbells under your feet, skipping rope, resistance bands for you to trip on your way down or on your way back up as well. Now, you'll normally find these steps, because they are so sort of compact and so well sort of designed, they'll normally tend to stack on top of each other, you know. So again, you might have like in the studio at the gym, we used to have, I think, like 10 of them stacked up, and next to them would be just like two stacks of the feet that you could just pull and get however many that you wanted. And of course, making sure that everything's stacked away, that we can't trip on anything. And of course, making sure that stuff goes back where you found it, so that the next gym member can come along and use them as well. They're quite a good bit of kit, to be honest, in that they can be utilized so well. I know you've mentioned before about doing jumping burpees. I used to get people to do a burpee and then jump over a step.
Sounds awful. Sounds good, but it sounds like a killer.
of varied heights.
Yeah.
You know, so of course, depending on that person's confidence, you know, you could maybe like, I would probably start with the step highest when they were fresh, and then as they jumped over, did their burpee, I'd take a step off each side, bring it down, say, right, let's go again. You're not jumping as high. You can manage this. Let them jump over again, take another step off, and work all your way down. And you can get some absolutely brutal sessions in.
I know. I can imagine.
Yeah. I don't know if I sound like I'm enjoying that too much when I'm talking about it. Honestly, do you know, but that's some of the stuff that I used to have people mentally buy into the most, because it's really engaging. And you're not doing the work with them, but you're not just stood watching. Yeah. It's like, right, come on, you got this next one, let's go. Right, I'm doing my bit, I pulled my bit out, I pulled the steps out, you're doing your bit now, come on, get over there again. Like I say, I mentioned the other week, some people work a lot more on certain stations with engagement or through certain exercises with engagement from other people. And when it comes to your circuits, again, the more you deliver circuits, the more you realize what exercises people don't like and maybe need motivating through. So I always made sure that if I knew that person was going to slack on that station, when that person had that turn on their station, I was stood there sort of making sure that they were working hard and pushing them through as well. You know, I used to do something in up at Bede, where rather than doing the paired sort of circuits like I'd mentioned earlier on, when people got to press ups, I always had a press up station, and when people got the press ups, I would sort of mirror them, and I'd get across. I would do press ups at their rate, at their speed, and then at the top of each press up, we'd like reach into the middle and high five, and then we go again. You know, so I'm actually doing it with them, and because just with certain people, and me keeping an eye on where they were in the circuit, me making sure that I was on that station when they were there and able to jump in and join in a little bit more, they were getting more out of it, you know.
Definitely, can imagine, yeah.
And again, it comes from knowing your members and knowing who's turning up and stuff. But again, utilizing your stations, utilizing your kit, and of course, the more organized the whole thing is, the more chance you're going to have for having time to sort of peel off and do something like that. If you're running around like a headless chicken, putting fires out left, right, and center because that person doesn't know what an overhead press is, that person thinks they know what a bicep curl is, but they're not sure and they need telling. Somebody over there is doing mountain climbers in a way that they're going to fall and smash their teeth in, you know. It's you're not going to get chance to really optimize and make the most of the time that you've got. So again, that's where these circuit cards come in, and knowing what your equipment is that you're going to be using can help you be a little bit more focused and just help the flow of the session in general. Okay, cool. That'll do us for steps then. We'll move on and have a look at dumbbells. I know we've talked a lot about dumbbells over the duration of the course because it's one of the more sort of typical gym kit that you're going to think about. But you know, we're always looking for wear and tear. You know, is it a metal dumbbell where you've got rivets in and maybe bolts holding the weight on each end? You know, which you see sometimes. Barbells are like that as well, you know. I may as well just mention now before we get there. Barbells, some of them will have like a big almost bolt in the end that I've actually seen come loose and come off, and that's actually what's holding the collar, and the bit that you slide the weight onto is only held onto the bar through that sort of rivet, really. So if that comes out, you've got 60 kilograms on this end. It's all well and good if you've got the clip on, but the whole end of the barbell can fall off. And it's the same with dumbbells as well. We need to make sure that sort of everything's attached, nothing's spinning that shouldn't be spinning, and wasn't spinning last time you used them, you know. And like I say, just sort of any wear and tear. Some dumbbells have actually got designs on them, you know. You get some custom dumbbells that have got sort of designs in metal that I've actually had them rip joggers before. You know, when you'll sort of sit on a bench and you'll get them on your legs, and maybe you're getting ready to do a chest press, and you'll boost them up with your knees on the way back. I've had sort of metallic stencils from the end of custom dumbbells dig into me joggers before as I've gone to boost them, and actually ripped holes in me joggers as well. So sometimes you've got to think about that with dumbbells, and again, you know, just checking the grips, and something that I only realized when I started doing classes with Mel, and the weight plates that we had were all sand filled, and of course, what do people do when they're done with a hard set? More often than not, they just want to chuck their weights on the floor. You know, you see it so often. I've seen people. There was one couple, mate, in the gym that I used to work in last, who they would do like walking lunges with a 60-kilogram barbell on their back. They'd walk up and down the gym doing lunges so they can manage the weight, get to the other end, and just roll 60 kilograms off their shoulders, and it just go boof onto the floor. I'm like, do you know what? You can pick it up.
Yeah.
You can get it over your head. You can get it onto your back. You can do 3 sets of 20-25 lunges with them, but you can't just gently lower it to the floor. Crazy. Do you know what I mean? We had one snap. You're talking like an actual barbell. Snap just clean in half.
Yeah.
It had to go away and be welded. And then, of course, because it was a pre-loaded barbell, there wasn't one you could take the weights off either end. It was like, this one's 20 kilograms, that one's 25 kilograms. Yeah. That was a whole sort of weight that the gym was without for a couple of weeks while that went away to get fixed.
It's like,
you know, so couldn't use it.
If you're an Olympic athlete and, you know, you're doing like a snatch or a clean and jerk, and it's like your PB, and it's in like a certain setting or it's your own gym, then it's totally understandable that they would throw the bar. But like when you see just normal people doing it, it's like there's no reason to do that in a gym that's not yours with weights that aren't yours. It's like you could damage the weights quite easily, or damage the surface, you know, damage the floor or anything if you're dropping that much weight down. And you see it happen in the gym, and it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, and like I say, we used to get it a little bit with these ones in particular that were filled with sand, where they would start to leak.
Oh,
so
yeah, I've seen that before, yeah.
What was meant to be a 5-kilogram weight only weighed 2 in the end by the time all that sand had come out of it. Do you know what I mean? It was like something out of a cartoon, you know, where they just blow up two big balloons and write 50 kilograms on them,
Yeah.
and stick them either end of the bar. It's like, yeah, I'm managing. Do you know what? Yeah. Some, like I say, some of them were half the weight that they should have been. Not to mention, if you're doing an overhead press and you look up to check your form and your elbows and you get sand in your eye while you've got the barbell with loaded weight on above your head, that's the last thing that you want. So that's something to be aware of as well. Just like I say, checking what's in them. And the same with the leak and sand can go with a lot of medicine balls as well, but we'll get to those in a second. The dumbbells, you're normally going to find stored on a weight rack. You know, they should be stored on a weight rack. Getting people to actually put them on a weight rack is a different kettle of fish altogether. You know, I've seen people that I've asked time and time again, the same couple actually, now I think about it, the same couple that used to just drop the 60 kilogram barbells, they would get to the end of their session, and rather than taking 30 seconds to put the weights away, they'd spend a couple of minutes stood looking around, watching to see if anybody had eyes on them before they just walked away and left them. Do you know what? It would have just been quicker to put the weights away. Do you know what I mean? And it got to the point where other members on the gym floor had seen me mention it to them that many times. Other people would start to say to them, "Look, I'm going to use that next. Will you put your weight away, please?" And
Yeah.
it must have got pretty embarrassing for them, because it kicked in eventually. But who wants to be that? Who wants to be that person in the gym? You know. We use another bit of psychology where we put a sign up saying, if you're struggling to put the dumbbells back, let us know and we'll ask one of the girls to do it for you. I absolutely love that, because you know what? All the dumbbells went back after that. All the dumbbells started going back after that.
It's the ego, man, isn't it?
That's it. That's it. You know what it is? It's like, I can understand, like, well done. You know, you've maybe got a PB, you've hit a weight that you've not hit before. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone else should come along after you and put them weights away. We should be doing it ourselves.
Exactly.
So either on a rack, which would be like a big rack, normally with bigger dumbbells on, or you might have what we call a dumbbell tree, which is normally like the 1 kilograms up to 10, and you'll have like a pair of each. You know, they're normally close to the dumbbell rack. The dumbbell rack might be 10s up to, you know, whatever the high end sort of weight is for your dumbbells. Smaller lightweights might be kept in a box, especially if they need to be a little bit more portable. But more often than not, your dumbbells are going to be on a rack or on like a little tree or a stand or something like that. Okay, guys. So rolling on, we've got skipping ropes next. So skipping ropes is one where you've got health and safety straight away off the bat, because you jump in, there's moving objects, it's easy to get your feet caught. It's easy to sort of misjudge and whip yourself around the shins. I've done that before, especially if you haven't skipped for a while, mate. You know what? As soon as I put a skipping rope in somebody else's hand, the majority of the time I hear, I haven't skipped since school. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not really something that we sort of do day to day. I know boxers do a lot of it, and a lot of sort of combat sort of athletes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do a lot of skipping for the conditioning. It is good for footwork, you know, be it sort of like your singles, or is it they call them double unders, where they're doing like 2 on each jump or something like that. It's insane some of the ways you can go with it, to be honest. But even just skipping on the spot, it's good fitness. I've even given people who, again, thinking about the members and the individuals, people who don't necessarily need to be jumping, or I would probably advise against jumping. I've said just bend your knees and just sort of get your arms going like you're skipping. You don't have to be skipping at all, really. Just making out that you are, and that'll work. That'll bring the cardio up as well. Of course, we're checking for frayed rope, making sure that there's no snappages or anything like that. Making sure that the handles are actually firmly attached and you've got a good hold of the handles. The last thing you want is for one of them to come out your hand while you've got the rope moving at a decent speed. So yeah, just making sure that those handles are on there properly and everything feels sort of good and secure in your hand. They're normally going to be wrapped up and sort of found in sort of like a loose knot, if not just sort of bunched up and put to one side. That was kind of the way I used to do them, just sort of like straighten them out, fold them, put them back, because chances are someone's going to have them out in the next hour or so. They might be sort of hung up on pegs or stored in a box somewhere just for skipping rope, or, you know, the gym might have a boxing equipment box that's got like pads, gloves, skipping rope in, that sort of thing. But normally they're going to have their own sort of designated place. And again, just being aware where all of these bits of kit live in the gym that you're used to, and just how to store them as well, you know, because the last thing you want to do, and I've had it before, and it winds you up, is when you're trying to move around the gym and I've got a client doing shuttle runs and they just set off on a sprint full tilt and I see like someone's left a skipping rope sticking out just behind like the lat pull down machine that's like right in their way.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. I've literally just sent them off as fast as they can. Like I'm quick, but I'm not beating them to that skipping rope, get it out of the way in time. I'm just not doing it. You know, of course, that is on me to check the environment first as well before I'm assigning other exercises. But it's so easily done. Do you know what I mean? And just like I say, making sure that stuff's away properly. I'll help it last longer, and you'll get more life out your kit, but it keeps everybody safe as well. Okay, so rolling on. Wib says, "Got to go. Just got to go. The electrician has arrived. See you next time. See you later on, Wib. We'll probably be rolling another half an hour or so, so we might catch you if you do get back on. If not, have a good week, buddy, and I'll maybe catch you on one of the streams next week. Let me know if you want to invite to the drop-ins as well. Monday morning, 10 o'clock. That's all just done through Zoom at the minute. So give me a shout and let us know.
Just pop into the loop, Rob, mate. I'll be back in a sec, dude.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. I'll do medicine balls while you're away. Cool. Yeah. Okay, guys, so medicine balls, I mentioned earlier on, the first thing that we want to check about is that there's no rips in the in these medicine balls. So, like I say, whatever's filling them, giving them the weight, be it 9 kilograms, 7 kilograms, whatever it is, sand, sometimes like a gel. Now, I found that the gel ones might split, but they tend to have like an inner skin as well. So they leak less. They might split a little bit easier, but they leak less. Whereas some of the ones that are filled with sand, as soon as they start to crack, there's little holes for the sand to come through. And not only is that going to potentially get in your eyes while you're doing exercises, but that's actually going to make the medicine ball lighter than it should be, you know. Some medicine balls that you see used are going to have handles on either side, just normally to give you a better grip. Just make sure that they're well attached as well, no splits, no tears. You know, I've seen people snap a handle on a medicine ball, and rather than coming forward and saying something, you know, they've just sort of lined it up again so it looks like there's nothing wrong and put it back. And, you know, the next person goes to, with one hand, kettlebell swing it, or like a medicine ball swing, a similar sort of movement, you know, G-force takes over, swinging away from the body, the handle snaps, and you've got a 9 kilogram medicine ball sailing away from your body at whatever speed towards whatever's in the way. And it's not a good place to be in. It's definitely not. Check the surface area that the ball is going to be thrown off as well, depending if you're doing slams. You know, is the floor a floor that can take 10 kilograms being smashed off of it? Is it rubber padding, you know, with a little bit more sort of bounce? Are you throwing it at a wall? You know, are you doing like sort of a squat and then chucking it at the wall as you're exploding out of your squat? Make sure that you're not going to put the medicine through a little bit of drywall or something like that. You know, make sure, like I say, just make sure that the wall can take it. Now, normally these are going to be, again, like your dumbbells. They'll be stored in one place, normally in a container or on a rack. I have seen them just rolled over to one side in the middle of like a body weight area. You know, if there's an area in the gym where people are mainly going for their fitness or so their body weight sort of stuff. You know, be it sit ups, burpees, press ups, ab work, any of that sort of thing. Sometimes the medicine balls will just be rolled over to one side, but just making sure that they are out of the way and over to one side when we don't need them, because they're easy to roll over. And don't mistake them for a football. Don't mistake them for a football, because I've done that before and I've seen that done. It's never pretty. It's never pretty. Okay, guys. So next one we're going to do is going to be trampolines. Now, you're probably not going to have come across many of these in a gym environment, especially if you've never done a designated trampoline class. But those are out there as well, you know. And for the sake of our circuits and what we're going to be doing in planning our circuits, you know, trampoline is a very realistic bit of kit that we might have, especially if, you know, we're like where me and Mel used to do at Bede College, where we pretty much just had one storage room that everything would go into when we were done, or the majority of stuff would go into when we were done. So when we were doing a circuit, you know we had access to a trampoline, skipping ropes, barbells, weights, without carting it around with us every session. Trampolines are a bit of a funny one, because a lot of exercises they're going to make easier, jumping, tuck jumps, that sort of thing. Burpees, I'd argue, are probably a little bit easier on a trampoline. But then you've got a lot of stuff where the trampoline, that takes away a lot of stability. So a squat is actually harder on a trampoline, because whereas the foot floor normally stabilizes you, trampoline's going to move underfoot. So you're going to need to adjust, and like I say, just make them little smaller adjustments to make sure that you're not going to lose your balance on the trampoline. So certain stuff was actually made a lot harder doing it on a trampoline, you know, planking again, you know, because obviously the floor's a lot less sturdy, your elbows are wobbling more, your body's going to wobble a little bit more. But when it comes to trampolines, you know, we've got to make sure that the springs are covered over. You know, we don't want to be coming down on springs if we land wrong. All the legs are going to be locked in, and we're going to make sure that you know, everything's sturdy. We don't want sort of like structural instability on one side. All the rubber feet are on properly, you know, and the legs are making good contact with the floor. And probably one of the most important things, making sure that there's no rips in the material on the trampoline itself, because I'm sure we've all seen a video or two where somebody's jumping on it and they go up once and it's fine, they come down the next time and it just like tears right across the middle, and before you know it, you're on your back on the grass. Or probably in this case, you're probably going to be on a hard floor in the gym or in the sports hall or wherever it's going to be. So making sure that there's no rips, and then like I say, normally the legs will fold down or unscrew, and we can stack them on top of each other, nice and sort of compact, nice and secure as well, and making sure that they're out the way. Okay, buddy. Spot on. We'll roll on to the next one then. We sort of talked about barbells a little bit earlier on, but there's a couple of bits that we'd need to think about that we don't normally with dumbbells. So we're thinking about obviously making sure that the weights are suitable for the bar. You wouldn't go and get a barbell that weighed like 5 kilograms, one of the plastic light ones, and say, do you know what, I'm gonna slam 40 kilograms on either side of this bar. You know, it's just asking for the bar to sort of snap and to fail in the middle. Whereas, you know, the bar that we've got on the picture there is more like an Olympic bar that's probably going to weigh 20 kilograms by itself. It'll take the extra weight on the side a lot better. You know, I'd mentioned earlier on, a clamp's secure, tight against the plates at each end of the barbell, so they shouldn't be able to move her around very much. You know, I've said in the past, I think bar, a chest press, and even then in extreme circumstances, I would always make sure that the clamps are on the bar. Just so nothing's going to fall. You don't want to have a bar overhead or on your back during a squat and you dip to one side, 60 kilograms falls off that side, so 60 kilograms pulls you the other way. So it's a surefire way to either blow a knee out or your lower back for sure. So that's definitely something to think about when we come to barbells, suitable to the exercise that you're doing and the weight that you're actually trying to get on that exercise, you know. Clamps are secure, and just to mention again earlier on, making sure that the actual bit, that the collar that the weight slides up to before you put the clamp on, making sure that that is actually attached to the bar nice and secure as well, because I have seen those come off. Big one, making sure that the weights are equal on each end. There is a time and a place for having unbalanced bars. You know, if you're trying to work on an imbalance, if you're thinking that, you know, my right leg is doing more during squats and I can't help that really, can you put maybe an extra 5 kilograms on the left hand side, so that left side needs to work a bit harder. But normally, for that nice sort of symmetrical movement, for that nice balance, you're going to want the barbell to be even on either side. You know, I've seen like, I'm sure it was a setup, I'm sure it was a fake video, but I've seen one before where some bloke's taking a minute between his squats on the squat rack, and he's got like a few weights either side, and like some bloke's looking for a 10, and he's, you know, when you just prowling the gym floor, like, where's the 10 plates at? Where's the 10s at? And he sees it on the squat bar and he just whips it off the end, and it's not quite enough for the bar to lift. But when the guy goes to get the bar off and put it on his back, it just pulls him clean over to the one side. Like, it's, I'd like to think it was a put on, because like, obviously the bloke's more shocked than anything. He's not hurt. It was pretty funny to just see the difference that like a 10 kilogram discrepancy can make when it comes to doing stuff like that.
Totally.
Now barbells are an awkward one to store without storing them upright. Like that would be the way that I would always store them. You know, you can actually get sort of like stands where they'll slot in.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen them like that
properly.
before.
Yeah. Oh, that's so handy, because I mean, like, barbells are round, you just lay them down next to each other, they want to roll, you know, they've got collars on, so they don't really go like proper snug next to each other. They can take up a lot of space, especially if you've got a couple, or, you know, depending on where you're keeping them in the gym. You know, are you keeping one near a deadlift platform, but not necessarily always on the deadlift platform? You know, you might just need a barbell close enough so someone can grab it quick,
Yeah.
and be able to crack on without necessarily just saying like, or if you don't want it, move it out of the way. Do you know what I mean? So handy having them in the right place without taking up too much space as well. That's something to think about. So they're normally going to be on a stand. Plates should be on a weight rack or on the floor. That doesn't necessarily mean left on the end of a machine. You know, there's been days when I would take plates off of the moving parts of a machine. You know how like the handle for the chest press, I would take them off there, but put them on another couple of the pegs that was on the chest press machine that were there just to hold weight.
Yeah.
I would never just like pick them off the gym floor and load them onto the machine itself. And then some days I would make a point of clearing all the machine entirely and making sure that all the weights were back on the right racks that they were supposed to be on.
Of course, yeah.
Gets a bit tedious when you're doing it every day, when you're closing the gym up every day. Which is again why it's nice if people do it themselves. You know, at the end of the day, the amount of calories I've probably burned over the years cleaning up after people is probably as much as I've spent on training myself, to be honest. But yeah, barbells, for as good and as versatile as they are, you know, they take up they can take up a lot of space. So just being careful of that. Okay, guys, we've got a couple to go before we get finished up, and then we like I say, we're just going to have a quick peek at some of the different circuit cards we've had from learners in the past. So if we go next slide, we've got our exercise mat, which is a little bit more straightforward. There's a little bit less to think about. Now you might be thinking, oh, there's nothing to think about with an exercise mat. What can go wrong? You know, we've got to think about it's nice and flat. You know, there's not bits tucked under at each end that's going to raise one end. It is a trip hazard at the end of the day. You could fall on it. Making sure that whatever you're putting the mat on is suitable for a mat, and making sure that there's no rips, no tears in the mat that you can maybe get your foot or your shoes caught on as well, because it's so easily done, you know. And again, when we're done with them, we roll them up and probably store them in a box, put them to one side. Some of them have like a band that will go around them and keep them balled up, you know, kind of like a yoga mat sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just keep them to one side, because you know, it's nice to have them sort of handy for people to grab for sit-ups, planks, whatever it's going to be. They are just more likely for someone to trip over them if they're just left out.
Definitely not.
So yeah, we're making sure that all of this kit goes away when we're not using it, pretty much. Okay, rolling on, we've got battle ropes. So battle rope was always one of my favorite bits of kit, because it was one of them bits of kit that people would look at and you'd see them interested in, but nobody wanted to just really go over and do their own thing with it without having been shown.
Yeah.
So I found that with certain people, the more I used battle ropes in the circuit, the more confident they were going and using battle ropes by themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's so much you can do with them. There's so much you could be doing that you think was using them wrong, you know? So you're obviously talking like your snakes, your slams, like moving them about really fast, because the ropes can be quite heavy.
Yeah, they are.
You know, and of course, again, making sure that the handles are secure. Can you get a good grip on them? Is there any rips? How is the rope attached at the other end? You know, is it looped around something? Is it just weighed down by a weight plate or something like that? How likely is it to come undone? And checking for space as well, because of course, we can see just from that picture alone, you know, if you've got to get a little bit of tension on them ropes and pull them back over, and if we've got an anchor and then we've got us at the other end working, you know, we can actually end up taking up quite a bit of space with battle ropes as well, and making sure that nobody's going to be getting in the way and hit by moving ropes and stuff like that, especially if we're doing sort of side-to-side drags, you know, for core training and a little bit of lateral
like with I think that's nice when you do like Russian twist kind of thing with them, but like you
Russian twist, yeah, definitely.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and of course you're using a lot more sort of lateral space then as well as vertical space, so you have to make sure that you have got the space to use them, which of course comes back to our planning stage where we're thinking about the space that we've got available. Now normally these ropes are going to be either sort of hung up somewhere safely when they're not being used, sort of tied up, or out the way. At the very least, if they're always anchored in the same place, I would always just make sure that they're sort of rolled up or balled up near that anchor. You can leave them anchored up, to be honest. You know, I used to leave them just round the bottom of one of the cable machines, just because they were set up in a way where using the ropes didn't affect the cables at all.
Yeah.
And of course, when they weren't being used, I could just bunch them up to the back of the cables, and they're not going to be in anybody's way, and they freed up the walkway that we were using to do the battle rope work in. So as long as they're out the way again safely, make sure they're hung up or balled up and out the way. Same as a skipping rope. Think of them as a really big skipping rope. You want to hang them up or ball them up out the way so nobody's going to trip over them. Okay, guys. So the last one that we're going to run through for today, because we've chucked a lot of kit and certainly a lot of maintenance and health and safety stuff at you this morning. So the last one that we've got is a kettlebell, and again, really sort of versatile bit of kit. The bloke in that image there is doing a kettlebell swing, just in case you've never seen one before, using his hips coming forward as he straightens up to boost that kettlebell up to shoulder height. It's not a shoulder exercise, although it kind of looks like it should be. The momentum comes from the swing and like I say, the drive with the hips. Now, with kettlebells, again, we're thinking about the handles. Is the handle in danger of coming off? Probably at the apex of your swing. That's the last thing that you need, like a 20-kilogram kettlebell soaring through the air, because there's not much you can do about it at that point. Especially if it goes, you're normally so surprised that it's gone, you're not going to move your feet and compose yourself quick enough to get to where it's going and catch it. And then the last thing you want, stuff like that flying through the air. Making sure that, depending on what you're doing with the kettlebell, has it got a rubber padding on the bottom to make sure that we're protecting the floor underneath. We're not just smashing them off a wooden floor, concrete floor, and making chips and dents and stuff like that. Checking for any cracks if they're plastic. Again, just like the medicine balls, some of them are filled with sand and will start to leak if there's cracks in them. And again, we've got to think about space as well. If we're doing big swings, the last thing we want to do is swing into that final position on that picture just as somebody's running past us doing their sort of shuttles or something like that, in their circuit. We want to make sure that, we're not going to be catching anybody on the upswing, definitely. I've had kettlebells dropped on my foot by clients. That hurts. So yeah, just making sure that we're putting them down safely as well. And the same with all this kit, we don't just release it. We don't just drop it for our own safety as much as the environment that we're training in. Kettlebells, like medicine balls, like dumbbells, they're normally going to be stored on a rack, stored in a heavy sort of duty container over to one side. Maybe it's in a specific room, maybe it's in a little studio, bodyweight studio. Or, again, maybe they're just sort of lined up along one side of the gym where they're kind of out the way and easily accessible, as long as they are out the way, So yeah, lots of stuff to be thinking about there with sort of like the maintenance and the health and safety side of stuff, checking that the kit's safe before we start to use it. And that is exactly what we're going to roll onto on our next workbook task. If we can go to the next slide, please, buddy. So we're staying on the same workbook. The last exercise that we looked at was 1.3, just because it made a little bit more sense in planning your session. We're going to jump back to the start and do task 1.1 now, where we're going to be writing down what fitness equipment you're going to use, the exercise you plan to do in your circuit, so we can say in the box where it says number 1, you could write kettlebell. This will be used for a kettlebell swing using the legs and the core. These will be used because kettlebells are obviously really sort of versatile, really sort of handy to get a grip on, and they're probably one of the safest things you could do swings with, depending on what it is that you're going to be. So identify what equipment you're going to use, the exercise you plan to do in your circuit with them. Explain how the equipment may help with cardio and muscular benefits as well. So their kettlebells might be used because they're going to use lower body muscles or core muscles, and just making sure that we're explaining the cardio effect of those as well. So that's that workbook, task 1.1. Then if we can go next slide as well, please, buddy, we've got 1.2 to do, which is pretty much just recapping what we've just talked about, where we're looking at different bits of fitness kit and safety precautions that we've got to consider with those. Now, we've actually talked about those quite a lot. Most of those we've just been through. The only two that we haven't really looked at is ladders and cones. So it would be interesting to see what you come back to with those, be it, again, sort of trip hazards, making sure that everything's intact, not sort of split or tearing or dropping to bits, that sort of thing. So for task 1.2, we're identifying 2 different safety precautions associated with each piece of equipment. Yeah, cool. And then we've got, just to finish us up in the workbook for this week, we've got task 2.1 and 2.2. So we're going to be identifying 3 pieces of equipment that you're going to use. Again, writing them on the left-hand side, and how you and how to care for and maintain them. You know, be it putting them away properly after each session, and maintenance, whatever that might be. You know, checking joints on barbells and stuff. So identifying 3 pieces of equipment, how you intend to use, and how to care and maintain them. Also identify safety precautions with each one. So that last task that we just did, or that last task that we just mentioned, is all the safety precautions to do with all the kit in general. This task, we're actually thinking about the equipment that you're planning on using. So we're going to pick 3 bits of kit, explain sort of how we can carefully maintain them and care for them. And then, like I say, the safety precautions for those bits of kit in particular. If that makes sense. Yeah, does that make sense to you, buddy?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, totally fine. Yeah.
Cool, nice one. Again, guys, as always, if any of it ever comes across and you're not entirely sure what it is you're supposed to be doing, by all means, drop me an email and we'll get a one-to-one booked in, and I'll be able to talk you through that sort of stuff. Okay, cool. So that'll finish us up for the workbook this week. So there's a couple of different exercises to do, plenty to be thinking about there, but it is all in the name of planning your circuit, really, which is going to be our aim for the next couple of weeks, to have these cards done and totally dusted. So just before we finish up for the day and roll the fitness video, if we can just roll through the next couple of slides, buddy, we're just gonna, like I say, some examples of circuit cards from some of the other learners that we've done over the years. So we've got there, the first example that we've got was a kettlebell swing. So like I say, I'm digging the stick man. If you're gonna explain something with a stick man, then happy days, you know. And it gives an idea that you understand it well enough to sort of get the image or get the idea across to somebody through such a primitive means, you know. But of course we've got the name of the exercise on there, the kit even, you know, kettlebell is the name of the kit. We've got the kettlebell swing, which is the exercise. We've got a little description: stand over the kettlebell, feet hip width apart, chest up, shoulders back. Kettlebell should be in line with the middle of your feet, swimming upwards, aim for chest height, with arms extended. You know, muscles used: shoulders back, hips, legs, glutes. Equipment needed: kettlebell. We've got that on there as well, and a little image of that alone. So that'd be pretty straightforward. You could realistically jump onto that and jump onto that station and be able to just sort of crack on with that exercise, you know. Then we've got the next one where they've done the same, where we're looking at squats. So this is a body weight exercise pretty much, but we noticed that the equipment needed they've put down as a mat. And again, we've got a little diagram of the mat. Muscles used: quads, glutes, and hamstrings. And of course, we've got a little description under the title of the exercise at the top there. And of course, another stick man who's doing quite a good squat, to be honest. He's got that depth, he's got that range, and and I've noticed as well there's a little number in the top right hand corner. So these cards were actually numbered, like I mentioned earlier on, so you know that if you've gone from number 2 to number 4, you've missed one out somewhere along the line, so you can actually backtrack a little bit. Next one, we had a dumbbell chest press, which is a bit of a difficult one to draw, and I can only applaud their efforts. So again, we've got the name of the exercise, we've got the number in the circuit that it falls, we've got the kit that we're going to use, we've got a little diagram again, and we've got a little image, equipment needed, mat and dumbbells, they're drawn as well, and the muscles used are going to be primarily sort of triceps, you know, depending on it's actually really bang on this, actually, because normally a chest press would be pecs, but if you read the description that they've laid out, it is keeping your elbows close to your side, and pushing from there, which is actually a lot more tricep dominant, you know. So even thinking about the angle of where you're pushing, if you're out wide, it's going to be your chest. You come in a little bit narrower, that focus is going to be on the triceps a little bit more, you know. So really good, really straightforward, easy to follow. And then we've got on the next one, we've got a slightly different take, where we've got our same again. We've got a number. We've got our Russian twist at the top. We've got in brackets what the kit is that we need underneath. Name of the muscles used: abdominals and obliques. You know, so we're really sort of in depth with that as well. It's not just core. It's not just abs. We've got the whole thing in there as well. Good little description. as well. You know, lie on the floor, keeping your feet flat or under something. Elevate your upper body to create a V shape with your thighs. Hold the ball in both hands, twisting side to side. You know, Russian twist like you mentioned a second ago about doing with battle ropes, buddy. You know, we can do those with
That's it.
do those with a medicine ball as well. You know, and again at the bottom, equipment needed, mat and a medicine ball, and even some of the safety precautions on there as well. Checking a medicine ball for tears, rips, handles are intact, and doing the same with the mat as well. And then the last one that I picked, I picked just because I like the zoom lines. I like the fast lines. I like how they've actually demonstrated running through the cones, and they haven't just drawn a stationary person on cones. Like I say, top effort. You know, equipment needed. We've got our cones on there. Got the name of the exercise, which is a cone sprint. You know, the image gives you a rough idea and a pretty good idea, to be honest, what it is you're supposed to be doing. And then, you know, we've got our description again, sprinting through the cones, running around each one as closely as possible, bend down and touch each one before moving to the next one. Repeat on the way back before going back to the first cone. And muscles used, we've got the calves on there because we're running and we're on our toes, but we've got the cardiovascular benefits on there as well, you know, so your heart and your lungs are going to work during your cone sprints as much as anything else, really. And just making sure that you're getting, like I say, that elevated heart rate and making sure that we're burning those calories as well. So yeah, hopefully those will just give you maybe a couple of ideas, the sort of thing that we're looking for, maybe the sort of things that you can do. Gives you certainly the idea that you don't need to be very artistic, you know, to be able to pull these off. As amazing as some of these are, you know, they can be quite simple with stick figures and just, you know, pretty basic drawings of the equipment that we're going to use. And then, like I say, we could maybe even get some progression and regression ideas on there as well, just to pad them out a little bit more. Just like I say, in case somebody is finding something a little bit easier or a little bit hard, so you can just say, do you know what, try this instead. You know, but those are all absolutely spot on, and I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with as well. So that'll about wrap us up for this week then. We don't really need to look at the workbook, to be honest, because we had a little bit of a look earlier on, and we've actually sort of looked at the activities through the PowerPoint as we've gone. So by all means, again, if you're not sure what the exercises are for this week, let me know. Other than that, as always, please don't forget to fill in the survey. It makes our job a lot easier. It gives us a lot of information that we need for your paperwork and stuff like that. And at the same time, you know, your feedback's really important to us. You guys are why we do what we do at Media Savvy, and we always want to, we like to know what we're doing well, and we like to get ideas where we can, you know, maybe suit you guys a little bit more and just help everybody get more out of the sessions as well. So yeah, by all means, it's up to 30 seconds tops just to fill that survey, and it's massively appreciated. So just a little bit of a recap. So your homework's going to be pages 2 to 5 in the tools and equipment for practical activity workbook. Yeah. And then the tools and materials workbook is what we're going to be able to fill in once we've done your circuits, and I can give you a little bit of feedback on those. And failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, 10 till half 12 again. And like I say, we'll be sort of moving on, getting those circuit cards done and starting to progress on to the next unit of the course as well. With next week being week 7. So that'll about do it from me for today, guys. My email, I believe, is in the description for the video.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The link to the survey is in the description as well. And the workbooks as well, if there's any that you are missing. The fitness video, there is a link to the fitness video in the description as well. Are we just gonna just leave that there this week? Maybe I'll copy that into the chat as well.
Sure, mate. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Cool. I'll just see if I can get that copy across then. Where we are, copy link. Sweet. And then, like I say, that all of our videos that we've done are up there on the channel now. So again, you might think to yourself, "Oh, today is I've done an AMRAP session for you today." So you're gonna just 5-minute timer, and you're going to work through the same exercises as many times as you can. If that's not really what you're feeling today, and you're feeling something a little bit easier, there's stretching exercises on there. There's sessions that are on there to do with just using some bits of kit around the house as substitutes for dumbbells and stuff like that. So there should be something on there for everybody. So by all means, have a little bit of a look. Let us know how you're getting on with the training. If there's anything that you find it hard or easy, let me know. But I do always try and make sure that you've got alternatives for exercises on there as well. So you should be able to just sort of hit the ground running with those and get a good session in. So as always, guys, reach out if you've got any questions or if there's anything you're not so sure about. And we will be back next Wednesday, same time, to do it all again and move on from there. I'm just getting this posted into the chat. There we go. Cool. So there's a link for the fitness video, guys, and that'll take you to the playlist that's got all of them in today. And then, yeah, like I say, we'll be back next week, normal time. So unless you've got anything to add, buddy, off the top of your head.
No, I think that's about it, mate. Yeah, just obviously the workout vid's there, guys, for you to access just after the session, and we've got the survey that Rob's just kind of posted and directed you to there. So yeah, just make sure you get the survey done, and that's about it.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week to for the
We
next
sure
session.
will, mate. We sure will to do it all again. That's it.
That's
it. Right, guys. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good week. Everybody stay safe. Especially as obviously stuff's opening up again, restrictions are lifting. Just keep your wits about you. Stay safe. And I'll hopefully catch everybody next Wednesday, and we'll just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a good week. I'll see you later on.